Welcome to the Magic Boy channel.
You know, sometimes a single piece of art can just capture the mood of an entire nation. And in this explainer, we're going to dissect a poem that has done exactly that in Sri Lanka. It's a really powerful piece called The Ballad of the Low. And honestly, it's just this raw expression of frustration with a system that so many people feel has failed them. So let's dive in and figure out why it struck such a nerve. Right off the bat, the poem doesn't start with some grand, sweeping political statement. Nope. It starts with a scar. In our village, a bus was shot at in the past. We still remember what the police did, sir. Wow. I mean, those lines immediately pull you into a really specific, painful memory. This isn't just poetry. It feels like testimony. It grounds the entire piece in a personal, unforgettable injustice. And that brings us to the poem's first major theme. This vivid memory of violence. See, the entire argument that's about to unfold is built on this foundation, on what was done to ordinary people not all that long ago by the state itself. The real power of this poem is in its unflinching details. The narrator talks about young boys being rounded up, tied and beaten, bones being crushed, even torture with chili sacks. These are not abstract complaints. They're sharp, agonizing memories that set up this baseline of trauma. And this raw memory, well, it becomes the emotional engine for everything that follows. Okay, so once that painful memory is firmly planted in your mind, the poem pivots. It actually uses that memory as a weapon to create this furious contrast with what's happening today. And that brings us to its central theme, a tale of two very different systems of justice.
So here it is, the poem's central argument laid bare. On one side, you have the powerless, those village boys who were beaten and thrown in jail. And on the other side, the powerful, the alleged masterminds of the Easter bombings, who, the poem claims, are still living in royal comfort. The contrast is just so stark and so intentional. It's designed to make you feel that deep, profound unfairness.
And the poem just keeps hammering this point home. For the powerless, the scales of justice are heavy. The consequences are harsh, and they are immediate. But for the powerful, well, it's like the scales are completely broken. The narrator points to alleged killers walking free, to corrupt ministers who preach about morality but never face any real repercussions. It's a picture of total impunity for the people at the top. And here's what's so crucial. This isn't just some vague complaint about the system. The poem is incredibly direct. It points the fingers squarely at the heads of the institutions themselves, the Attorney General and the police chief. The message is that they are being held directly responsible for this double standard, for this failure to bring the powerful to justice. All this frustration, it doesn't just hang in the air. The poem channels all of that raw anger into a really clear, direct call for accountability. It moves from just describing the problem to actually demanding a solution. And the solution it proposes is this raw three-step process. First, name the culprits. Simple. Second, arrest them. And third, interrogate them. And this is key, the same way we were interrogated until they confess. It's a demand for symmetrical justice, right? Applying the exact same harsh methods to the powerful that were once used on the powerless. Then, just to underscore how urgent this all is, the poem throws this really provocative line into the mix. By telling the authorities to go look at how neighboring countries handle corruption, it just sharpens the critique. The implication isn't just that they're failing, but that they're failing even by regional standards. And that adds a whole other layer of shame to the call for action. So, from the institutions, the poem then escalates. It turns its focus directly to the very top, to the national leadership. And this is where that frustration really boils over into a full-blown indictment. The poem then asks this simple but devastating question. It's been a year. You were given power. So, what are the results? The question just hangs there, heavy with the implied answer. Nothing. It perfectly captures that growing impatience of a people who voted for a change that they still haven't seen. And this rhetorical question just drives the point home. Now, that number, 500 thieves, it might be figurative, but it represents the sheer scale of the corruption people feel is happening. By asking how many have actually been caught, the poem is highlighting this huge gap between the promises that were made and the reality on the ground. Then, the poem just lists out the leadership's failures, one by one, They're meditating at home instead of taking charge. They're paralyzed with hands and feet withdrawn. Their promises to catch criminals today or tomorrow, well, that's dismissed as just empty words. And crucially, they're accused of failing to actually consolidate their power and use it to deliver the justice they promised.
And the whole critique builds to the poem's most scathing metaphor. The final, brutal indictment is this. Instead of going after the corrupt, the leadership is accused of serving them, of using the spoils of corruption to fashion their own meager power. It's just a devastating image of weakness and complicity.
So, after this whole journey through memory and anger and accusation, what's the ultimate message of this poem? What does it all really mean? Well, essentially, the Ballad of the Low starts with this really personal memory of trauma and injustice. It then uses that memory as a kind of moral yardstick to measure the present, and it finds the present is coming up completely short. It transforms that personal pain into this collective, furious demand for accountability. And it all ends with this bitter indictment of a leadership that's seen as failing its people. And that brings us to the final, lingering question. This poem, you see, it isn't just words on a page. It's a symptom of a deep and growing public frustration. It leaves us with a stark thought. When a society's art has to scream this loudly for basic justice, what does the silence of its leaders truly mean? That's the question the Ballad of the Low leaves echoing.
Thank you for watching my channel.